Thank you for taking the time to be here. As difficult as time it is for everybody, the reason why I offer these sessions every morning is to create a capacity for us all to find some space, to find some grounding before we start our day. Because in times of uncertainty, the challenge often can be, where is my ground zero? Where do I start from? And within mindfulness and meditation, and we're not going to go into detailed meditation or mindfulness at all. I'm going to give you some very simple little tips. But within mindfulness and meditation, the process is always about trying to start our day in the same place each day. So starting your day at a ground zero, an equilibrium, because that way then you are able to move forward. And we wake up in the morning and we've had difficult night's sleep. We're exposed to a huge negative news cycle. And the way that we feel on today, this Tuesday, can be different to how we felt yesterday and how we may feel tomorrow. So the real aim here is to create a space where we all get to start our day together collectively as a community, for those to have that space for us to just kind of sit together. Morning. I'm just going to talk a little bit about anxiety, stress, how it impacts us, a little bit of neuroscience, and then a couple of tips, simple little breathing exercises that you can take into your day and use if the day becomes overwhelming, or even if you just need to create a bit of space. We all have people working at home now. We have our families at home. So the space and capacity that you need for yourself can become more challenging. But remember, that's what bathrooms were created for. So don't be afraid if you need to do some breathing exercises and you can't get away from everybody, to just go into the bathroom, lock the door, sit in the toilet, take 3 or 4 minutes and do these breathing exercises. I want to just quickly talk about a little bit of psychology, which is helpful. And I'll mention this every day, but I'll kind of just bring this back each morning because our minds play tricks on us and they don't allow us to sense into what's logical. They like us to go to the illogical. We have a thing called the negativity bias. And the negativity bias is a very helpful thing that for the last 200,000 years, it helped us survive. So it means that we will see things generally in their most negative form in order to survive. And how does that work? Well, you might be out running, and today being St. Patrick's Day, you got rid of the snakes from Ireland. Even if I'm out running on the trails in Ireland and I could see an old rope behind a tree, my mind would actually say to me, caution, that might be a snake. Now, my logical brain knows there are no snakes in Ireland, but my survival mechanism tells me, oh, this could be the worst thing possible. This is a snake. And this is the negativity bias. We see things in their worst possible way in order for us to try and navigate ourselves away from the trouble and into a safe environment, into a safer port. And the 24-hour news cycle play on this, advertising industry play on this. The more you can sensationalize things, the more people are interested in actually getting closer to it. Apologies as I move, but I'm talking to 3 cameras, so in case you wonder why I keep moving around, I'm just trying to be inclusive. So an awareness of this is important because you have to realize that the negativity bias is not your prefrontal cortex. Here is the logic center. This is everything that you're able to do in the last 10,000 years as human beings. This is the executive function, the power to really cognitively plan your next step, your next move. The negativity bias leaves this and goes into your primal brain. And inside your primal brain, it only has fight, flight, freeze, and another little trick that we're going to learn in a second. So when you go into that primal brain, you're then sucked in and you start feeding this primal brain. You feed it more and more negative news. So it's really important that we measure how much time we spend on the news. Unless you really need to be paying attention to the news, and for those people who are in financial services, and my other hat is in that world, helping some people yesterday. So you might end up having to watch certain things relative to the markets, but actually, for most of us, we don't need to be connected to it all the time. So if you have news on your iPhone or your Android, delete the app and reinstall it just when you are going to decide that that's your time during the day. So within your schedule today, you can set a time to say, well, I'll check the news at 1 or I'll check the news at 5, whatever that may be, and then you reinstall your app. And in the same way, avoid social media. So there's a great book by a scientist called Cal Newport, which is called Digital Minimalism. It's digital minimalism. And Cal Newport discloses the science behind why we have to scroll up and scroll down, and why when we pull down and we watch the little things spin around, we get excited because it hits us with a dopamine hit. And things like Twitter and most social media accounts, you don't even need to pull down. It's not even relevant, but they do it because they're using the behavioral science that they've taken from Macau and Las Vegas, the two biggest gambling centers in the world. So recognize that when you go on social media or when you go on the news, the behavioral science around it is there to keep you addicted. So it's very hard to logically step away from addiction when you get sucked in. So you have to actually create boundaries for yourself in the day. So start your day and think, okay, I'm going to go on social media at X time and I'm going to go on news on Y time, and the space in between, I'm going to delete my apps because I need to be here for my family. I need to be here for myself. So just think about that as the capacity to create some space. And there's a great saying by John Kabat-Zinn, who originally brought mindfulness to the US. And this is his most famous saying, which is, as long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than wrong with you. I'll say that again. As long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than wrong with you. And as much as we have great difficulties going on right now in the world and in our own lives and our businesses and our homes, we're alive. And as we're alive, we depend on ourselves and other people depend on us too. So a great sense of stepping in and connecting to that reality that I am breathing today and I am alive. And lastly, before we go on to do a breathing exercise, I just wanted to talk about the idea of leadership, and leadership for yourself, because I must be my own leader, because the monkey mind, the negative bias, all of the information that's going on in here, I must be able to be my own leader. I must be able to show up for myself in these difficult times. I must be a leader in my family. And it doesn't matter where you sit in your family. Are you the youngest, the oldest, the parent, the grandparent? You can establish a sense of leadership for those people around you. And then within your own businesses or lives, with your own teams, you too can be the leader and you can show up for people. And what do we want from leaders in times like this? So people that we look up to in our family, in our homes, in our business, in our community. We want calmness, a capacity to be calm, not to panic. We want people who listen. Our children right now need us to listen. Our parents, our elderly parents, need us to listen. Our family members, our loved ones, our wives, husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends, they want us to listen and to be measured. There are ways to react, but if I take a breath before I take an action, then I can be more measured. So without instantly reacting, I How can we measure it? I take a breath and then I measure it. And they want us to be resilient. And resilience is tough in times like this, but it's also helpful to remember other times when you're resilient, times when you faced difficult issues in your life, but you came through it. And I often advise people, write down a little note about resilience, put it in the back of your diary, somewhere you can reflect on during the day, and bring yourself back to that time when you have made it through a difficult time, so you can look at when you were resilient last. So remembering that we need to be leaders for ourselves. So I lead myself. I set my to-do list today. I will be playing board games. I will exercise. I will spend enough time outside getting vitamin D. I will eat well. I will nourish myself. I will drink 2 liters of water. I will find space in my day to breathe. I will check in on those that are important to me. I will check my news at 3 o'clock. I will avoid social media until 2 o'clock. And then I'll delete them again, and I'll give myself the freedom to make it to the end of my day. So be the leader for yourself. Establish the boundaries for yourself today. And be the leaders for your family. Take some of these ideas, if they feel right for you, and share them with your family. Share them as ideas to maybe help your own family. And for our businesses too. These are challenging times for many, many people. But, we'll come together, we'll support local businesses, we'll support communities as we come through this. And remember, when you think about things that worry you today, what can I influence and control? What really impacts me? If I get caught worrying about things that I cannot influence and control, then, as I always say, they're for somebody else. So we can't influence and control global economic policy. We can't influence and control global government policy. We can't influence and control our own government policy. We can't even influence and control our own community policy. So what can I influence and control? How I feel today. I can influence and control that. I can influence and control the fact that I need to listen to my family and be there for them. I need to hug them. I need to create space for them. For younger children, we need to get on the floor with them, look them in the eyes and be present. And yesterday, somebody was talking about giving their children presents right now, buying them things to help them navigate this. And I said to them, there's a difference, and it's only a nuanced difference. We don't need to give them presents in the material sense. We just need to give them our presence, our capacity to be there, to listen, to guide them, and to help them. They may seem okay, but be sure there's a lot going on in here. So leadership in the family is important. So I'm now going to walk you through a 5-minute meditation practice that you can use. It's very, very simple. It's called box breathing. And this is actually used by special forces around the world when they're in stressful situations. It's used by a lot of sports people. So we teach this in sports psychology when somebody has to step up in the middle of a very pressured game to do something that's different. So in rugby, it's taking a kick. So it's how do we move ourselves from this capacity with all of the chaos to find the space to take us out of this primal brain where all of the negative biases and the monkey mind is, back in to our cognitive function. So when we're feeling overwhelmed, we go into fight, flight, and freeze. And one way of getting out of that is that you can go out for a brisk stroll and you actually tap the flight button. So you can actually move your body and help yourself change your state by going outside for a brisk stroll or a walk. But another way is to just do this breathing exercise. So if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes. If it doesn't feel comfortable, close your eyes. Just allow your gaze to find and settle a place just in front of your eyes without looking around. We just want to allow the body and the mind to just be present. And just close your eyes and take in a deep breath and breathe out slowly. We've removed the guided meditations from this recording. Go to the YouTube channel and check out the meditation section. But remember that, fear and anxiety is a great neuroscience that we know about this. As a practicing Buddhist, and somebody who teaches in Buddhist psychology and Eastern philosophy, we know an awful lot about the neuroscience now, and we've had great experience of detailed studies with fMRI scans showing the capacity of people just breathing and how we can change their neurological state. And it doesn't mean that we change the news or we change what's going on, but we start to change how we react to it. So it's the difference between, I wish the world was like this, I want my life to be like this, and then being able to accept it as it is. This is life as it is, and I'm able to just move through it. When we constantly want life to be as I wish it was, we get a crick in our neck. It's painful. So being able to settle into life as it is and having the capacity to have a breathing technique, box breathing. Why do we call it box breathing? Because it's simple. I remember 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out. And this is a simple process that we allow for anxiety. So it's stress and anxiety. This is not a detailed meditation. This is, in case of emergency, you can break the glass, go into your bathroom, lock the door, sit in the toilet, go outside for a walk, sit on the bench, do it, be in the park, whatever you need. And remember, please do get outside. Nature is so important right now. Our capacity to heal requires fresh air. Our capacity to feel well requires fresh air. Blue skies, gray skies, whatever it is, getting outside into nature is so healing. I've trained with Yamabushi priests in Japan, and their philosophy is all built around nature. Everything we need is out there. And I'll just finish with a really nice poem by Rumi. Rumi is one of the great sages of Eastern philosophy and beautiful poetry. If you want money more than anything, you will be bought and sold. If you have a greed for food, you will become a loaf of bread. This is a subtle truth. Whatever you love, you are. And I like that because when we have the capacity to be present for our family and to love our family, then we are our family. When we have the capacity to be present and to show love and compassion to ourselves, which is very hard a lot of times, then we can be ourselves, our true self. So at times like this, nature has given us an opportunity to slow down, to pay attention to our lives, to take stock of what's going on, and to be compassionate to ourselves and everybody around us. So, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful day. And if you want, I'm back here tomorrow at 7 a.m. Thank you.